It's no way to tell you how good you look out there. You're just beautiful, and it fills my heart to see everybody out here this morning for such a good cause. I'm Harold Jenkins, spokesperson for NAT, and let me tell you just a second about NAT. It's a nonviolent action team that does whatever it's called on. We react to the state and do whatever we can, our little bit, and some of the most courageous and caring people belong to it you've ever seen, and I'm really proud of them. Let me tell you, welcome to Granville County, clean and green Granville County, our home, on the behalf of all of our citizens. On behalf of all of our citizens that are now engaged in a fight for the very survival of our way of life, we say thank you for joining us in this Mercy March as we speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. The children of Murdoch, the patients of Umstead, and all the other residents at institutions throughout Butner. Make no mistake, it is an uphill struggle, for we must battle big business with all their money and political friends. No one gave us $10,000 for our outing, as many of them received it. Only this gathering and people like it stands between the government and the infamous timetable to establish this despicable, insidious, ill-advised, and health-threatening North Carolina version of Caldwell County. But we cannot, must not, and will not allow it to be placed here. Our very way of life, our children's inheritance of the Lord's land is at stake. The will of the people must and will emerge victorious. A special welcome to all of those who have come a long distance from other counties: Iredell, Rowan, Wake, Durham, Johnson, Terrell, Vance, Franklin, and Person, and many others that I may not mention. We appreciate your concern, your good wishes in helping this struggle. Keep on doing it. And as a gentleman that's been very prominent in this entire fight said at the beginning of it, and I always preach it, John Pike said, the only thing you can do wrong is nothing. And if you'll keep that in mind, join us the next time we're out there. Do whatever you can, whatever it may be. Bless you, and thank you for having us this morning. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.
GROW is an organization that started here on May 1st. Its president is Bill Jackson. I'd like to welcome Bill.
Thank you very much. I represent GROW, Granville Residents Opposed to Waste. We formed on May 2nd, the day after the state announced our county as a preferred site. Now, more than 850 family members strong, we continue our fight here in Butner. It is with pleasure that I welcome all of you to our county. I think it's a tribute to each and every one of you to take time out to stand up for those who cannot speak for themselves. I am especially grateful to those of you representing the organized groups fighting the incinerator that have come in support of today's effort. Those from Rowan, Iredell, Johnston, other counties, Forsyth. I am equally thankful to our elected officials who have arranged their busy schedules to help those at these state institutions who cannot be active politically. Today, we all have but one objective. We want the people of our state to realize the senselessness of the siting process of this incinerator and landfill complex. We want the people of our state to know that the Hazardous Waste Commission has been given unlimited powers in this siting process and is about to site a facility across the street from an institution of 750 individuals, most of whom cannot speak or care for themselves. We want the people of our state to know that the General Assembly should put a halt to this process. until they can evaluate in a reasonable manner and from a more informed perspective. Today, we are in Butner. A few weeks ago, we were in Belltown. Tomorrow, we may be in some other county, but we want the Waste Commission to know we will be wherever it is proposed for as long as it takes. So when they ask where the incinerator is going to be built, we can tell them, not here, not here, not anywhere. Okay.
Helping us fight is the county commissioners for Granville County, and that chairperson is Mike Warren. Mike?
When John Upstead farm was announced as a site for a possible hazardous waste incinerator, landfill, and solvent recovery system, as before, we were shocked. And as before, shock turned to anger. Never would we have believed that our government could act so irresponsibly, subjecting Butner, a community of mercy, and its institutionalized residents to a possible awful horror. That horror becoming reality if the Butner area cited in an actual emergency were to exist at the incinerator or en route to the incinerator. We must stop, North Carolina must stop this disastrous course we are on. The timetable which the Hazardous Waste Management Commission is on is unrealistic, very unrealistic, putting them in a position where they must spend most of their time trying to escape their own rules, while at the same time losing credibility with the citizens which they serve. They're now dotting our landscape with drill holes, wandering around like a ship without a rudder in a sea of turmoil of their own creation. We must insist that the General Assembly reconvenes and take another look at the decision of the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. Take another look at the excess capacity of the proposed hazardous waste incinerator. Take another look at the bad deal regional agreement. And most importantly, take another look at our present need for hazardous waste incineration, period. The citizens of Granville County, Butner, and its institutions are entrapped by the very government that is sworn to protect it. We, the citizens of Granville County, and you, our neighbors and friends from across North Carolina, we must walk for those who cannot walk for themselves. We must respond and speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. And for those who cannot defend for themselves and fight, we must fight this battle till the end, with God as our strength and our guide. And one last note. It is time for us to remove from state government the demagogic proponents of hazardous waste. Thank you.
Today's march is called a March of Mercy. It's because we who can speak, can walk, are doing it for those who are institutionalized here in Butner. A leader in the fight to speak for those who cannot speak is Mr. George Cheek, chairperson of the Human Rights Committee for Murdoch Center. Mr. Cheek.
Thank you very much. I want to preface first, I can't do this in 5 minutes, and that's all the time I've been given, so you'll just have to bear with me. I'm going to take a little more than that, I think. but I want to preface my remarks with a couple of statements. One is that I'm speaking more from a personal standpoint this morning than I am for the Human Rights Committee of Murdoch Center. I'm doing that although they have given me 100% support in anything that I say or write. They have not been attending the meetings that Mr. Calvin Martin, who is another member of the committee, and we've been attending meetings and listening to speeches by the Hazardous Waste Commission and getting letters from the governor. And I really can't speak for the rest of the committee because I don't think they're quite as mad and upset as I am, and I don't know how they would react when they get this way. So this is more or less personal. Another thing I have to do in prefacing my remarks is to make a confession, and I'm doing this, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. I feel a little bit like the people on the commercial for Frosted Flakes. If you've seen that commercial, they kind of say, "I love Frosted Flakes." You know, they kind of hide their little bit. They're adults, and they don't want the kids to see them do this. So I need to do that. I need to make a confession. I'm a Republican, and I voted for this administration twice. I even campaigned a little bit, you know, so, you know, I feel a little bit like those people. I wish I was behind a curtain, maybe in a silhouette. But maybe I can overcome this and live a normal life. I don't know. And now that I've told you this, I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is that we were just told this past Thursday in Raleigh, in meeting with some of the Hazardous Waste Commission people, that you people are very fortunate, the people that live in the Butner area. Your land is the only piece of state-owned land in the state of North Carolina that is large enough and meets the criteria, the strict criteria, for a hazardous waste incinerator. You should be very proud of that. And at that statement, we questioned them about a letter that I received from Linda Little, and with it was the normal propaganda that comes with it, the question and answers, and on the back page it asked why state-owned land was not being considered, and the answer is that state-owned property was screened by the Hazardous Waste Management Commission using the same strict siting criteria applied to the rest of the land in North Carolina, and no state-owned land came up to that. And when questioned on that, they said, well, that was probably before we came back and reevaluated. And I read the date on the letter was September the 27th, and I believe that was after they had already started up here. And of course, then they gave us another answer, and I think they're computer programmed. I mean, they only know one answer, and of course, they change the rules as they go. But some other good news is that this incinerator is perfectly safe. There's nothing to worry about. It's as safe as your corner drugstore. And another good thing is that our residents at Murdoch Center, and by the way, I am a parent also. I have a daughter that's been there for 20 years. And Mr. Martin has a daughter, and Ms. Martin has a daughter that's been there over 20 years. But they will be safer now when they place this incinerator there, because, let me give you the good news, let me finish the good news before you say anything, because they're going to train these people, the workers at Murdoch, in the latest techniques of evacuation. This was told, this is a quote from this past Thursday. They will train them with the latest techniques. They will furnish, they will buy the vehicles, and they will hire the additional personnel. This was Daryl Hennon. And now the bad news. The bad news is that, in my opinion, all of the above are lies. This past Thursday morning at 9 o'clock, Mr. Martin and I were here at Murdoch Center, and we met, and I'll give you their names. We met with 3 members of the Hazardous Waste Commission, Daryl Hennon, Dr. Alvis Turner, and Marge Howell. addition to those three, we met with Rob Kirk and Joseph Carviti. You don't know who he is, do you? Okay, he's with the parent company. He is with Newchem out of New Jersey. And he is the director of permit development. And he is a real character. I'll tell you a little more about him later. Also, Jesse Goodman from the Department of Human Resources, Mike Henneke, the director of Murdoch Center, his assistant, Bob Miller, Calvin Martin, my friend and associate, and myself. I don't believe that there's a person within the sound of my voice who can go through Murdoch Center the way we did that morning, going through the clinic, going through some of the units where they're non-ambulatory, they're being tube-fed. I've been going through there, and Mr. Martin's been going through there, and his wife and my wife for over 20 years. I can't go through there without a tear. 5 people did that Thursday morning. 5 people did that Thursday morning. Not a tear.
They have no feelings, no conscience, no.
The major topic during the tour, the major conversation was carried on between Mr. Carviti with Newchem and the unit directors. One of the first questions asked as we would enter a building, before they ever looked at the residents, I think, was about the doors. Which doors are locked? Where are the keys? Who has the keys? What do you do when you evacuate? How long does it take? Where do you go? What do you do when you get there? But it's safe. Every unit that we went in, this was the topic of conversation. At one point, after about the 3rd unit, Mr. Carviti was asked, how many places like this have you initiated evacuation plans? And we did not get an answer. He was asked the 2nd time, where have you initiated evacuation plans for an institution like this where the people are as fragile as the ones that you're looking at here? No answer. We got an answer, but it was a roundabout thing that he never gave us an answer. And finally, why don't you listen and give us an answer? Then your friend and mine, Mr. Hennett, says, save those questions for this afternoon in Raleigh. Because we were going to Raleigh to meet with them again Thursday afternoon.